Hi, I'm Victoria Weinstein, the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greater Lynn. Welcome to August of 2020 and to our summer Sundays. August 2020 is not like any other August that I've ever known, and probably not like one you've ever known. Usually we would be worshiping in our beautiful church, in our parish hall, in air conditioning, in a more intimate setting than our big sanctuary. And oftentimes there would be a guest minister or a student intern leading services. But right now we are still very much at the beginning stages of coping with this crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic. So our ministry is in spirit. Our community right now gathers in spirit, heart to heart, in memory, and in appreciation for the ties that we have to one another that last even through distance and absence. If you're new to us, if you've come looking for a comforting word or spiritual encouragement, I'm really glad you found us. We are real, even though right now we're online. And we're creating right now programming and plans for the fall that we will ramp up our togetherness, even again at a distance, even though we won't be in our building. We will find ways to minister to one another in a time of incredible strain and a time of anxiety and challenge. The mission of our church is to care about one another and to extend ourselves beyond the concerns of our own personal lives and to care about the world, to show up for justice, to witness to the truth, to be willing to step out of our comfort zone on behalf of a greater world that we envision together. In August, we're going to be focusing on music and on words that have perhaps been in our lives for a while, but that we are hearing now in a fresh way. Words and melodies that have fresh meaning for us now. So if you find, as you are watching these offerings, if you find, yeah, you know what, I would love to do that. I would like to share a song that is having special meaning for me now in Corona Tide. Let me know. We can help you record it and share it with the congregation and all of our guests who are watching these videos, these recordings. So now I invite you to just take a deep breath. I'm glad you've made this time for yourself. The birds are singing as the sun is going down. And enter into the spirit of worship together.
Hi everyone, good morning or evening or afternoon or whenever you're watching this. I hope that you're all well. I miss seeing all of your faces, and I hope that we get to see each other soon. Today I'm going to share sort of my soul songs. There are a couple of them that I want to share, but primarily by one artist. And that artist is Tracy Chapman. Tracy Chapman is this dynamic songwriter and performer and social activist. Tracy Chapman was born in Ohio, much like me, in Cleveland for her, Cincinnati for me. And she grew up in not a particularly wealthy community, and her mother gave her a ukulele when she was like 3 years old, and she's been writing songs since she was 8. And the thing about it is that for even when she was younger, and the last song I'm going to play for you, she wrote when she was just 16, so deep and well-informed on, or I guess in touch with emotion and with the world and what's going on in it. So why did I want to choose songs by Tracy Chapman? I think for a number of reasons. Tracy Chapman has songs about all sorts of things, like social justice type themes like domestic abuse or poverty, environmentalism and segregation. Um, and the quality of her songs, especially on this first album that all of the songs I'm gonna talk to you about today are from her self-titled album that came out in 1988, Tracy Chapman. And what I noticed immediately, and what you might hear too, is these are protest songs, and I think much in the way, that of ones that came from the civil rights era. So you're thinking like the "We Shall Overcomes," right? But also, it sort of falls in the same space as like Bob Dylan with "Blowin' in the Wind," or more poignantly, The Lonesome Death of Hattie Carroll, which is just, if you haven't listened to that, I'm not going to play that for you today, but be in the right emotional space and listen to that too. And or the times they are changing, and dealing with war and civil rights, and I think because of where we are in this moment, and also just because of the extreme value that she has, I think we would be remiss, especially in this moment, if we don't consider Tracy Chapman's music. And sadly, a lot of her music is still really relevant to current events. And part of what's drawing me to these is sort of being on social media and seeing all of these horrific things happening to people, or justice that just is continually not happening. It's not being served, and what that looks like, the heartache that people have, and then all the complicated feelings, I think, that come along with that, and just all of the unrest and discomfort. It's hard to find words, and I think that what I appreciate about Tracy is her ability to take what feels like these big, complex, and nuanced issues, and boil them down to something that is simple, but at the same time have these very poignant lines that make her, I think, unique. So the first song that I'm going to share with you is a song called "Across the Lines," and it speaks to the division of Black and white people and segregation. And as you listen here, I think you'll find some of the direct parallels that come right out of this song. So. find, and maybe when you were listening already, you could find sort of those direct parallels. Um, parallel, I think is not even the right word. I mean, it's right out of the song, and it's so sad that we're still dealing with these things, but that you have, a black girl assaulted, and no one knows her name, or two black boys are killed, and the media blames them, or they're asking questions about why, what were they doing to do this, to get this sort of treatment. And I think this song, it is addressing, I think, sort of a lot of the hurt and the anger that people are feeling now too when they see these things happen, and that targeted person, when they want to talk about it, or when something comes up, that they get blamed for all of this. And it's just, it can be particularly hurtful. But what I like about how Tracy sets this, is that, like, you see her music, the underneath is rhythmic, but it's not overbearing. It gives you the space. Her voice is so soulful. There's so much body, and a lot of this too, I think, because she had an experience, with this. She's proximate to this, thinking about racial division, and being sort of a black girl going into sort of, a prep school in Connecticut alone, where students, primarily white students, don't have an appreciation for or value of people who have her experience or from her background. So, thinking about sort of who is gonna, how do we get across those lines of race, and not just with white and black, but all people, and figure out how to do this. She makes mention of the American dream, and what's happening is, racism and bigotry and all of this hate is killing what that American dream is. And I know there's a lot of conversation about that, the concept of the American dream, and sort of what the founding of our country was, and who it left out from the beginning. But I think that whatever this dream is, this sort of ideal, that you can live in a space and be free, and have opportunity, and at least have the basic needs met, and be treated like a person with dignity and inherent worth, I think is something that we can all hope to have. But part of that is diagnosing these issues, I think, and figuring out how to work through them together. This next song I'm going to share with you is entitled "Why," and it is exactly, I think, what we're thinking. I may or may not play it for you in its entirety. I will encourage you to listen to all of this whole album, like I said, because it's really great. And this whole album is not all about social justice. She also has sort of like love songs in there, and she flows so effortlessly between them. And I think that is also another thing that attracts me to this music, is the versatility, and also that while she is serious, that there's a lot of dimension to her and to her music, and I think is reflective of just how complicated people are, and how interesting people can be if you get to know them. Like I said, I'm not going to play all of it for you. I don't want to, but you can feel free to listen. It's actually not that much longer. But questions that come up, right? I think relate to what's happening with Black Lives Matter now. Why are the missiles called peacekeepers when they're trained to kill, right? That's a direct. Even though I know that this is sort of maybe a comment on bigger war and this, but in this moment, there is a war on Black people, Black bodies, and while I acknowledge that there may be a lot to consider in this situation, the fact that people who are supposed to protect are disproportionately not protecting a certain segment of the population, I think is very concerning. You're thinking about Breonna Taylor, you're thinking about how this happens and how it keeps happening. And this song, I think, also gets at sort of, I have these questions and they're reasonable questions that like you should just, why do we have to have these questions? That doesn't make sense. Well, I think it's hard when you have all of these questions in general, to find any light or hope or to feel like something can come of this that is positive. And someone does have to answer these questions and answer for all of the things that are happening out here. But she comes to the end, and when she's talking about who needs to answer for this, or who's somebody has to answer these questions. There's a line that says, "The blind remove their blinders, and the speechless speak the truth." And what I like about that is that maybe there is a little bit of optimism that at some point, if we ask these questions and we're very intentional about seeking answers in a way that is meaningful and honest and raw, that maybe when these answers come about, then the people who have been blind, who have not seen, will see, and the people who have been silenced, the people who are marginalized and have been oppressed, will have the opportunity to share their story and to be heard. So this last song I'm going to share with you, and I might play it through in its entirety, I might not. I'll see how the Spirit moves me, whether it says do. Is a song called "Talking About a Revolution," and this song is one of the songs that made her really popular in her first few months after she published her dropped her album in 1988. Partially because there's another song that she sang to, "Fast Car," but that's a different story. But "Talking About a Revolution," she sang on the tribute to Nelson Mandela in London, I believe it was. It was for his 70th birthday, and this was something I think that really helped to put her on the map. Here we are.
Don't you know? Talking about a revolution sounds like a whisper. Don't you know? Talking about a revolution sounds like a whisper. While they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know? Talking about a revolution sounds whisper. Poor people gonna rise up, get their share. Poor people gonna rise up and take what's there.
could finish that one on your own. But I like it. It kind of gets you to jam out a little bit. These songs are like so they're addressing such complex issues, but how they're presented is in a way that I think, like the music is simple and folksy and makes you want to sing along, which I also think for me helps me to internalize this and to think about it when I'm she's taking sort of thoughts that have been in my brain and sort of putting them into the right words, and then I'm able to put them out too. And this song is exciting too. I mean, because it's built on 4 chords. Don't you know we're talking about a revolution, and it sounds like a whisper. I love that, a whisper. What's exciting about that is sort of, her songs are definitely written with purpose, right? I mean, it just lays out plainly what's happening and how unjust things are happening all around us. But also, I think, and you can hear sort of with how the energy behind and the instruments too, underneath her, there's a certain energy that's there. And I feel like in this song in particular, that revolution, like you feel that energy bubbling, right? That you're gathering up the energy and the strength to tackle, to hope to start tackling some of these issues. And I think right now, I love that one in particular because it does feel like, hopefully, we're moving in the direction of a movement. And I love that run part. It's like, if you're not with it, if you're not ready to move, you gotta go. It's time for people, and in this one, she talks about people in the welfare line and poverty too, but it's like the people who are struggling, are starting to find their voice. And I think at this point are just insisting that you listen. So you better run if you're not ready, because this is happening with or without you. Yeah, so those tables are turning, and that gives me some excitement. So when I hear that, it makes my toe. And there's this weird sort of feeling I have going back and forth, because like these songs groove in certain ways, and they have this feeling that you just want to, like, it feels good to sing, but at the same time, like, you might be singing about things that are kind of heavy. And what is that, and how does that balance? And figuring that out for myself, and maybe for yourself if you decide to learn, I think is something that you can to think about and take stock about how it makes you feel, to listen or to sing these things back on your own. I feel like voices like Tracy, she gives entire communities and generations, really, words to speak, that their hopes and their dreams and their desires, and hopefully all of those things, learning to express those and giving voice to those people. And it goes from this whisper, like a whisper, that whisper, to something that drowns out all of the hate and the bigotry and the strife that's besetting so many people. So these songs, they give me some strength and some energy. It helps me to have words where I might not always be able to pin down my thoughts with those words. And it stirs something in my soul too, that there is some energy that's building, and that revolution is there. It can happen. We can get there with each other. And just her voice reverberating in my ears, the strength and conviction in her sound, it really just helps me to feel girded, to feel more fortified. I really do hope that you enjoy some of these songs and that you seek her out, because I think she's well worth the find. So with that, be well, take care, sending you my love.
Hi, I'm Clarence Milton Becker from the Playing for Change band, and I would like to play this next song in the honor of the great Martin Luther King, the great defender of our equal rights. Don't you know they're talking about a revolution? It sounds like a whisper. Don't you know they're talking about a revolution? It sounds like a whisper. While they're standing in the welfare lines, crying in the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Now, don't you know we're talking about a revolution? It sounds like a whisper. Poor people gonna rise up and get their share. Poor people gonna rise up and take what's theirs. Don't you know you better run, 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 run. Oh, so you better run, 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 run. 'Cause finally the tables are starting to turn. Talk about a revolution. Yes, finally the tables are starting to turn. Talk about a revolution. Oh no. Talking about a revolution. Oh, while they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Now, don't you know they're talking about a revolution? It sounds like a whisper. Poor people gonna rise up and get their share. Poor people gonna rise up and take what's theirs. Don't you know you better run, 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 run. Oh, said you better run, 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 run. 'Cause finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Yes, finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Oh no. Talking about a revolution. Oh no. Talking about a revolution. Oh no. Martin Luther King.